Honorable House, Deputy Presiding Officer, given the nature of this motion, I'd like to proceed with Standing Order 42.7 to read parts of my speech in going forward. Deputy Presiding Officer, referring to slavery, John Henry Clark once said that to control a people, you must first control what they think about themselves and how they regard their history and culture. And when your conqueror makes you ashamed of your culture and your history, he needs no prison walls and no chains to hold you. This quote reminds me of the advice that the Minority Council, Senator Hislop and their colleagues are all giving Tobagonians as we speak on social media. They are advising us to take autonomy step by step and that we should learn to eat little and live long. Haven't our great-great-great-great-grandparents been doing that all along? Yes. The assets that we have in and around Tobago should have been sufficient to lift Tobagonians out of our current state. But what we have instead is a society hugely dependent upon the Tobago House of Assembly, which is severely underfunded. The PNM can boast that for decades, they have enriched their finances and robbed Tobagonians of their dreams. Yes. Deputy Presiding Officer, Tobago deserves more from this Trinidad and Tobago arrangement. Today, I stand in support of my colleague, the Secretary of Finance, with this motion. And it is an interesting one, because it's really saying to us here in Tobago that we would never get closer to the upper end of what the Dispute Resolution Commission agreed to. Anywhere close to the 6.9% of the total budget pie to develop Tobago. So the Tobago House of Assembly now has to scale down its efforts at progress. Deputy Presiding Officer, the food import bill for Trinidad and Tobago now stands at $7.3 billion, reported to be the highest it has ever been. And for years, the bill averaged over $5 billion. This figure represents the amount of money paid to companies and individuals outside of Trinidad and Tobago. And it is important to note that this $7.3 billion is more than what the government spends on its annual public sector investment program. And is only now, in the 2024-2025 budget, that the finance minister is seeking to make investments locally to address food security, when the problem is already out of control. Deputy Presiding Officer, I don't know if you could permit me to sing in the house, but you know the popular PNM song? We love you so, we take good care. We know that, right? Rubbish. Total rubbish. In the 2024-2025 budget, the Finance Minister, Colin Imbert, outlined that food security is high on the agenda and is seeking to expand agricultural production by allocating $1.184 billion to the sector. The question to Tobagonians should be, how much of that will come to Tobago? Today, my presentation in this house will focus on three things, and very simple things, and I won't be very long, as I usually am. Yeah? What every category of worker and what every stakeholder have all been experiencing on the ground. The division's activities in fiscal 2023-2024 to revive a declining sector, a dead and decaying sector, and the major priorities of the division for fiscal 2024-2025. Deputy Presiding Officer, let me tell this Honorable House what I met when I assumed office. After I keep reminding people, because the minority keep ranting on all kind of nonsense. So I'll jog his memory as well. With the exception of the $40 million Scarborough market, which was leaking inside it, rain falling, wetting up people in the haberdashery section, and it don't even have a sign. And a Trinidad contractor. $40 million. And it wasn't even built, it was refurbished for $40 million. The Castara Fish Facility, $15 million. Trinidad contractor. And all of them had to be finished when we assume office. Every other building and facility completely run down, either shut down or barely functional. For some of these buildings, the ceilings and floors were completely rotten or eaten by wood ants. And just in case that is not what? Parliamentary language, eaten by termites. And after conducting swab tests on all processing equipment, none could be utilized for processing. The capital of Paradise was missing for years. And I challenge anybody here and online, have you ever heard a single report coming from this vessel, the operation of this vessel? Never. You never heard it make $1 for Tobago, right? Nothing. Even the documents in TADCO missing. Whole filing cabinet of contracts missing. And the minority want to talk about this administration? I am sure you never heard on this side any documents missing at all. We're responding to every question. Across the entire island, if you could remember, even the Prime Minister visited us when we got into office. He spoke about how mistletoe took over the whole island. And now you have the giant African snail coming up from Trinidad. Remember the state that Tobago was in. We even continued having the crops destroyed by coquelicot and parrot. Deputy Presiding Officer, you know what has been very frustrating as well? Similar to many other divisions. I'm at a division without money for development. And still the Minority Council wants to add pressure by making unreasonable requests from this Executive Council. Imagine the PNM destroyed every piece of asset under the Division of Food Security in 21 years and expect this administration to fix every piece of asset under food security in 3 years with no development budget. This is truly an example of eating little and live long. Deputy Presiding Officer, the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, and Sustainable Development has to continue promoting the activities of every stakeholder and encouraging everyone in the sector to focus on their trade and think about it as a science and a business so that the sector could remain sustainable. So last fiscal, what we did, 2023-2024, we focused on refurbishing and building stuff. Yeah, that's what we did. Refurbishing and building. We refurbished the Bloody Bay Orientation Center, and it is 90% complete, hoping to open by Christmas or the New Year, in time for the tourist season. And it was refurbished both phases by a Tobago contractor. That's important. We refurbished the Barbados Bay Fish Facility, Tobago contractor. The locker storage in Charlottesville, soon to be open for Christmas, Tobago contractor. Constructing the Palo Tovea Fish Facility. And by the way, I saw the minister, Ayanna Webster-Roy, trying to claim as if, you know, she's involved and she knows what's going on online. She don't know one thing. So let me say in the House today that phase 2 is going to continue, yeah, in this new fiscal. Refurbishing the Roxborough Fish Facility, 90% complete. Refurbishing the Buku Fish Facility and the Research Center, hoping to open by Christmas. refurbishing the Buku Training Center. And if you forget what the training center looked like, every time you pass in that back road in Buku, you would see several vessels, derelict vessels, an entire research facility and training facility totally run down. Soon to be open for the new year and house a brand new company, the Tobago Agri-Technology Services Company. Done by a Tobago contractor. Right. We repaired a patrol vessel. The one patrol vessel that we had to do surveillance of all the marine parks, the official and the unofficial ones. That even the Coast Guard, who has no vessel, had to, yes? Even the Coast Guard, they had no vessel. They had to use our boat, right? That was repaired by a Tobago contractor. The packing house, right in the back of Shore Park, totally run down when you swap the equipment. Can't eat nothing from there. Refurbished, no contractor selected, it was done by staff. Down to the painting was done by staff. You see motivation? Refurbishing the Culloden fish facility, that is at 35%, we get in there. 100% completed the Scarborough Abattoir, and we are hoping to open next week. And just in case the minority want to mislead you, our staff, we are continuing to work with T&Tech so that we could regulate the high voltage issue in the area. Because if we run the sewer system on the current voltage, it will destroy the system. So that is what causing the delay, right? With T&Tech trying to resolve that high voltage issue. As soon as they get it right, the Scarborough Abattoir will be opened. Access roads development at Belmont Road, Gibba Gully. And if you don't know where Gibba Gully is, soon when we open it, you all will get to drive in and see where Gibba Gully is. Miles and miles of road. Farmland development continues at Argyle under the office of the Chief Secretary. And listen, Tobago was a dead place. When I say dead, dead. No vendor was making any money. Right? And what the division continues to do for the vendors, keeping Lamb Festival, horticultural show, Women Expo this Friday, Chocolate and Mud, which is a culinary event as well. All these festivals is to put money in the pockets of Tobagonians. So we're focusing on the infrastructure because we have to fix the sector. But to create the balance, all these activities, the division are making no money from it. Even the Scarborough Botanic Garden Christmas Blitz, the vendors are the ones who are going to make the money from this. So the training programs continue, and it's all kind of training, down to herbs and spices, how to make forage for animals. And we had to restructure the eradication program. Just imagine, cocoa fields abandoned for years. All kind of vine tie-up, banana growing in between. And now you have a bird whaler assisting farmers with the pests so that they could experience a first harvest on the cocoa estates. So tell me if that isn't progress. I am sure I challenge anybody online to tell me when last I hear a cocoa farmer saying that they're going and harvest cocoa. Dwayne Dove was so proud to say that we saved his business. So, I don't know, the minority delusional. And he spoke about Novo, but let me tell you something. Novo is in Guyana. Novo is all over the Caribbean now. Until countries giving them land to assist the island. But you know what? The minority want us to start from scratch because them ruin everything in agriculture. So everything that we try here, not good enough. All right, he had time on his hands. Deputy Presiding Officer, some of these projects will be completed in December of this year or next year, early next year. But these contractors would need a payment. And that is why Tobago needs its fair share of the total budget pie. So if the finance minister is serious about agriculture in Tobago, just as in Trinidad, then what's wrong with giving us our fair share of the total budget pie? I want to state here that my division has been eating little and living long for too long. And despite the funding challenges we face, we continue to try. And the public giving us good grades, with the exception of the Minority Council. We have been mobilizing creatively and managing the little resources we have to achieve so much more in the last 3 years than they did in 21 years. So we continue to focus our efforts on the stakeholder needs, and we continue to work together as a team. And let me say, I am extremely proud of what the Division of Food Security has accomplished. Yes. And it is because of the prudent management of resources at the Division of Finance, because we depend on them solely to give us money. Yeah? So just imagine how much we could do in Tobago if we got our fair share. The time for eating a little and living long has expired. Trinidad is not eating a little and living long. So side by side, equality implied, that is implied in the national anthem, needs to become more than just the lines in the song. Nonetheless, Deputy Presiding Officer, in this fiscal year, we as a division intend to continue focusing on key facilities in the space, developing farmlands, and continue the Access Roads program. The Tobago House of Assembly will continue to revise the incentives program to support the sector. With the introduction of technology at this year's Agri-Technology Innovation Summit, stakeholders will be exposed and trained on how to utilize technology in their operations, and this will reduce risks and increase profits and productivity in the sector. The Tobago House of Assembly will then look at the possibility of partnering with stakeholders and insurance companies to facilitate compensation mechanisms. Deputy Presiding Officer, I want to end by saying Tobagonians need to benefit from their own resources to develop the entire island and to feed its people. Imagine in the 2024 budget, Trinidad allocated $7.5 million to establish community gardens and $56 million to upgrade the Emperor Valley Zoo to include a cinema and a bar. And in this fiscal, giving Tobagonians only $5 million to develop agricultural access roads. This year, our request for both recurrent and development was at $508 million. Yeah, we were trying. We were trying. However, the allocation minus the Department of Environment is $198.1 million. And this still will not translate into actual cash that we will receive. Our expenditure trend for both recurrent and development since 2021, 167.8 million. 2022, 168.2 million. 2023, 163.8 million. 2024, 168.2 million. So it's more or less the same thing and a little less. This year we project expenditure of close to 200 million, with the biggest spend on the priority projects. With the size of the food import bill, we are forced to continue to take the chance to revive the sector. And this is what it is, a chance. So as the Secretary, I implore our people, Tobagonians, to understand that this spending that we are doing now is an investment in you, so that in the event of a disaster in Trinidad or Tobago, with Tobago's arable lands and prized livestock, we can continue to support each other and to build this greatest little island on the planet. We're depending on you. So for my friends on the other side, let me give you a message to carry back for your handlers. Tobago people are neither pleased, satisfied, nor comforted by any of your recent statements post-budget. Take that back. We live here on Gilligan's Island every single day, and who feels it knows it. We are being shortchanged, bullied, and judged for demanding our just due. Not just now, but for too many generations. Love is an action word, and Tobago needs more action and more money from Port of Spain. So take that back, take that message back, and put my name on it, Assemblyman Nathisha Charles-Pantin. Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer.